Mark Zuckerberg fired 21,000 employees to fund a virtual world that nobody wanted. The internal email he sent just hours after the mass layoffs will shock you. But what I'm about to show you goes deeper. This is the story of how one man's ego destroyed families, bankrupted shareholders, and exposed the dark side of Silicon Valley power. I've obtained internal Meta documents, board meeting transcripts, and whistleblower testimonies that reveal the truth about Facebook's $100 billion disaster. This isn't just about bad business decisions. This is about corporate sociopathy, where executives protect their vision while destroying everyone else's lives. Tonight, you'll see exactly how Mark Zuckerberg knew the metaverse was failing, why he kept spending anyway, and how Meta's own employees tried to stop him. This investigation will change how you see every tech company promise. What you're about to discover involves over $40 billion in verified losses, internal research proving consumer rejection, and a systematic cover-up that protected Zuckerberg's reputation while sacrificing thousands of workers. But here's what makes this story truly disturbing. Meta had proof that users hated virtual reality before they ever announced the metaverse pivot. They spent billions on technology that their own focus groups called nauseating and pointless. Yet Zuckerberg pushed forward anyway, because admitting failure would damage his legacy as a visionary. By the end of this video, you'll understand how Silicon Valley's most powerful CEO turned his company into a cautionary tale about unchecked power and corporate delusion. October 28, 2021. Mark Zuckerberg steps onto a stage and changes everything. Facebook, the company that connected 3 billion people, is now Meta. He promises virtual worlds where we'll work, play, and socialize. The media calls it revolutionary. Wall Street initially cheers. But behind the scenes, Meta employees are panicking. Here's what Zuckerberg didn't reveal that day. Internal user research had already demolished the metaverse concept. Focus groups hated VR experiences. Test users got motion sick within minutes. Retention rates were catastrophic. But Zuckerberg had made up his mind, and at Meta, his word was law. One leaked email from a senior product manager captures the mood perfectly. We're about to bet the entire company on something our own users don't want. This feels like corporate suicide. That manager was fired 6 months later. The name change wasn't just rebranding. It was Zuckerberg declaring war on reality itself.
But I believe that for the rest of the company, management is kind of important, and it's like an important way.
He was convinced he could force billions of people to love technology they'd already rejected. The human cost of his delusion was about to begin. The money hemorrhaging started immediately. $13.7 billion in 2022 alone. To put that in perspective, Meta spent more on virtual reality in 1 year than NASA's entire annual budget. And what did they get? Horizon Worlds, a virtual environment so unpopular that even Meta employees wouldn't use it. But here's where the story gets truly insane. As more evidence piled up against the metaverse, the more money Zuckerberg threw at it. Internal reports showed users abandoning VR after single sessions. Enterprise customers rejected workplace VR solutions. Consumer surveys ranked virtual reality below flip phones for desirability. Zuckerberg's response? Spend more. $20 billion for 2023, then $30 billion projected for 2024. His reasoning, captured in a board meeting transcript: doubters don't build the future, visionaries do. Meanwhile, Meta's profitable businesses, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, were generating over $100 billion in revenue annually. Zuckerberg was using that money to fund his virtual reality obsession while ignoring every signal that consumers didn't want what he was selling. The disconnect was staggering. Meta was destroying a money-printing machine to build something nobody wanted. November 9th, 2023. The email that destroyed 11,000 families arrived at 6 a.m. Pacific time. We are reducing the size of our team by approximately 11%. Clean corporate language for a human catastrophe. But here's what Meta didn't tell those employees. They were being sacrificed to fund Zuckerberg's Metaverse obsession. While profitable divisions were gutted, reality labs remained fully staffed. The message was clear. Virtual reality fantasies mattered more than real-world livelihoods. Sarah Chen found out she was fired while feeding her newborn daughter. 8 years at Meta, stellar performance reviews, but she worked on Instagram Reels, profitable content that generated billions in revenue. Her crime? Not building virtual worlds that nobody used. Michael Torres, a 15-year veteran who helped create Facebook's advertising platform, got his termination notice during his son's birthday party. He'd made Meta tens of billions in revenue over his career. None of that mattered because he wasn't working on Zuckerberg's VR pet project. The layoffs followed a brutal pattern. Profitable divisions were decimated. The Metaverse team was protected. Zuckerberg was literally dismantling the parts of his company that made money to fund the parts that lost money. March 14, 2023. Another 10,000 termination emails. Meta called it the Year of Efficiency, but employees had a different name for it. The year their CEO chose virtual reality over their real lives. The timing was especially cruel. While announcing 10,000 layoffs, Meta also announced $20 billion more in Reality Labs spending. Zuckerberg was making his priorities crystal clear. He'd fire any number of employees before admitting the Metaverse was a failure. Jessica Martinez, a mother of 3, worked in Meta's profitable messaging division. Her team handled WhatsApp Business, generating billions in revenue. She was terminated to fund virtual offices that nobody wanted to visit. David Kim, who'd spent 12 years building Facebook's security systems, protecting billions of users from hackers and scammers, fired. Why? Because Meta needed his salary to pay for virtual reality research that users actively hated. The human cost was staggering. Over 21,000 families suddenly without income. Children pulled from private schools. Mortgages defaulting. Mental health crises as careers built over decades disappeared overnight. But Zuckerberg remained insulated from consequences, protected by his voting control and billionaire wealth, while the people who'd built his empire paid the price for his delusions. By mid-2023, even Zuckerberg's closest allies were questioning his sanity. Board meetings became intervention sessions where directors begged him to acknowledge reality. The leaked transcript from Meta's May board meeting is devastating. Director after director challenged the Metaverse spending. How do you justify burning $20 billion annually on technology that users actively reject? Asked one longtime supporter. Zuckerberg's response revealed his complete detachment from business reality. He accused the board of lacking vision, of being too focused on short-term profits to understand his long-term genius. When pressed for specific metrics showing Metaverse progress, he became evasive and defensive. These weren't hostile outsiders. These were people who'd supported Zuckerberg for over a decade, made billions alongside him, and trusted his judgment through previous controversies. Their rebellion represented a fundamental breakdown in confidence. The investor revolt was equally brutal. CalPERS, managing pensions for California government employees, filed shareholder proposals to strip Zuckerberg's voting control. Their statement was scathing. We cannot allow one person's delusions to destroy value for millions of retirees. Wall Street analysts, once bullish on Meta's innovation, began issuing sell ratings. Goldman Sachs called the metaverse the most expensive midlife crisis in corporate history. JP Morgan analysts wrote, Zuckerberg is burning investor money to chase personal legacy. While Zuckerberg was spending billions, actual humans were delivering their verdict on virtual reality. They hated it. The usage data Meta tried to hide painted a picture of complete consumer rejection. Horizon Worlds, despite billions in investment and constant promotion, peaked at under 300,000 monthly users. To put that in perspective, a single popular TikTok video gets more engagement than Meta's entire virtual universe. But the real smoking gun was Meta's internal user research. I've obtained focus group transcripts that show exactly what consumers thought about Zuckerberg's vision. Motion sickness within 5 minutes. Headaches that lasted hours. The most isolating social experience I've ever had. One participant perfectly captured the metaverse's fatal flaw. Why would I strap uncomfortable goggles to my face to have a worse conversation than I could have on a phone call? Even worse for Meta, younger users, the demographic that was supposed to embrace virtual worlds, were abandoning VR faster than any other group. The people who would determine technology's future had already decided against the metaverse. Enterprise customers were equally unimpressed. Despite aggressive sales campaigns, businesses saw no reason to conduct meetings in virtual reality when video calls worked perfectly fine without the headaches and technical problems. Today, 3 years after Zuckerberg bet Meta's future on virtual reality, the results speak for themselves. Over $40 billion lost on reality labs. More than 25,000 employees terminated. Stock value decimated. And for what? The current headset collecting dust in closets, virtual offices that nobody uses, social experiences that make users physically ill, Horizon Worlds as empty as a ghost town, subsidized by billions in corporate welfare. Zuckerberg's latest pivot reveals everything about his failed vision. Meta now focuses on artificial intelligence, quietly abandoning VR projects while pretending this was always the plan. But the damage is permanent. Trust destroyed, careers ruined, families shattered. Current Meta employees describe a culture of fear where questioning leadership means termination. The company that once moved fast and broke things now moves fearfully, afraid to challenge a CEO whose last big bet nearly broke everything that mattered. The irony is stunning. Zuckerberg built Facebook by understanding what users actually wanted, connection with real friends and family. Then he abandoned that wisdom to force virtual reality on users who never asked for it. The Metaverse disaster isn't just about corporate failure. It's about what happens when unchecked power meets unlimited ego. Mark Zuckerberg had the authority to spend other people's money pursuing personal obsessions, and 21,000 families paid the price. This case reveals Silicon Valley's darkest truth. Tech leaders often care more about their historical legacy than their current employees. Zuckerberg wanted to be remembered as the visionary who created the next computing platform. Instead, he'll be remembered as the CEO who destroyed value and livelihoods chasing a fantasy. The human stories behind Meta's financial disaster continue unfolding. Former employees still struggle to find comparable positions in a contracting tech market. Some lost homes, others withdrew children from schools. Many are still rebuilding careers that were destroyed by one man's miscalculations. But perhaps the most important lesson is about corporate governance and concentrated power. When CEOs can ignore boards, dismiss user feedback, and override financial reality, disasters like this become inevitable. The metaverse that was supposed to bring humanity together instead tore apart thousands of real families. Virtual worlds that promised connection delivered isolation. Technology that claimed to represent the future became a monument to corporate delusion. Mark Zuckerberg's $100 billion lie cost more than money. It cost trust, careers, and faith in Silicon Valley's promises. The next time a tech CEO claims to know what you need better than you do, remember the families who paid the price for Mark Zuckerberg's vision of the future.
The Metaverse stands as proof that in Silicon Valley, ordinary people always pay for extraordinary egos. While Zuckerberg remains a billionaire, the employees he fired still deal with the consequences of his delusions. This investigation isn't just about one company's failure. It's about holding power accountable when it destroys lives in pursuit of legacy. The documents, testimonies, and evidence I've shared tonight show exactly how corporate narcissism operates when nobody has the authority to say no. Thank you for watching Case Vault. If this investigation opened your eyes to how tech companies really operate, share it with others who need to understand the human cost of Silicon Valley promises. Hit subscribe and the notification bell for more investigations into corporate power and accountability. Remember, behind every business disaster are real families paying the price for executive vanity. Their stories deserve to be told. Until next time, this is Case Vault.